So here with Lee Strobel in studio and on the set of your film that is being made right now, The Case for Christ. It's his story. And so many of you know about the book, The Case for Christ, that came out in 1998. It's been read by millions. It's impacted countless lives all over the world that have been impacted by your story of this incredible background in law and being the law editor for the Chicago Tribune. And so you're this investigative journalist, and through a series of events, you began to look into Christianity and the claims of Jesus Christ, the crucifixion, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. How can this be true? You didn't believe it. You were an atheist at that time. And as you dug in and studied this over about 2 years, you ended up coming to faith in Christ yourself. And the story, The Case for Christ, is about that. But the movie depicts so many there's so many powerful scenes. There's great actors in it. And I just really enjoyed seeing some clips today myself here at the studios. But I'd like to ask you about your relationship. Your wife came to Christ first. And that was tough for you.
Very tough.
What was that like for you? Because there's people who are watching this and who are going to watch the movie who are maybe it's a young person in the family comes to faith in Christ and their parents don't understand, or maybe there's a spouse who's a believer in Christ and the other one doesn't believe that that Jesus is real and just thinks that this is ridiculous, and that creates tension in a family. So what was it like for you?
Creates tension. That's an understatement. It really can. It did in our case. Created a lot of friction, a lot of arguments. I had a lot of rage inside of me as an atheist because I was always after the perfect high, the perfect experience of pleasure as a hedonist, and everything would let me down. So I had a lot of rage and anger. And I remember once Leslie and I got in an argument about her going to church. And I was mad. I was angry she was going to church. And I just blew up, and I reared back, and I kicked a hole right through our living room wall. And Leslie's crying, and the baby's crying. And, I mean, that was the kind of environment we were in. It was volatile. It was full of conflict because I felt like she was cheating on me with another man. That, who is this Jesus guy? All of a sudden, he's like being held up in her life as being this model and this paradigm of virtue. And, well, hey, what happened to me? I'm the one you married. Who's Jesus? So there was a lot of conflict. And we find that there are a significant number, especially of women who are married to men like me, Leslie, people like Leslie, married to guys like me who may not even be atheists, but they're not open to faith. And so they're what we call mismatched. And so Leslie and I wrote a book on this called Mismatched, which is about what do you do if your spouse is not a follower of Christ? How do you navigate through these troubled and turbulent waters? And really, I can give some quick advice that we've learned the hard way in our marriage.
Please.
That three relationships that if you build into these relationships, it's going to help the situation. The first relationship is your relationship with God. So that if you're the Christian and you're married to a non-Christian, what's important for you is to nurture relationship with God, because it is through that He's going to change you in ways that your spouse is going to see. And that's going to probably speak to your spouse more than anything else you can do, more than the words that you can speak. So build your relationship with Jesus. Secondly, have a relationship with a mentor. Some other woman, if you're a woman, or a guy if you're a guy, who provides not just a shoulder to cry on, but good spiritual advice, who doesn't fall into the trap of it's me and you against your spouse, but keeps you on an even keel, maybe mentors you spiritually to help you grow in that way. But it's very important to have a mentor. And then third, focus on your relationship with your spouse. You married your spouse for a reason, because you love them. And there are a lot of things you like to do together. Build on those things. Don't forget those things. If you like to go bike riding together, go bike riding together. If you like to take trips together, take trips together. But whatever it is, build into that bridge, that commonality that you have with your spouse. Because you're going to find that in an unequally yoked relationship like this, often this schism can lead to separation and can lead to each spouse going in their own corner, so to speak. And so find those areas of commonality that you can build on. We found that those three relationships can be key in keeping a marriage together.
That's so good. Excited for your book. That's
Thanks.
forthcoming.
Yeah,
right?
well, it's actually out.
Okay.
It used to be titled "Surviving a Spiritual Mismatch in Marriage,"
Okay.
which is a mouthful. Try saying that five times in
yeah.
a row. Surviving a spiritual mismatch in marriage. That's hard. But so we named it Mismatch.
Okay, that's a great name.
And then the subtitle says something about when you're married to a non-believer. So,
Great.
so
So that's in stores now.
it's in stores now. It's
And,
got a 30-day prayer guide in it for your spouse, and a lot of hard learned lessons from our own
Yeah.
experience. Things that Leslie did that didn't help, and then the things that did.
Yeah, and I think you guys have such a unique story because of your background in your work at the Chicago Tribune and those things, and even just your story with your family growing up and where that led you. And but yeah, I think it's important the closer you are with somebody to really just do your best to love them and live it out in front of them more than preach to them.
Exactly.
The closer you are, you really you only take key moments if they arise. But besides that, just show them the difference that you see and pray and let God do the work because it's His work.
Yeah.
And so that's fantastic. I'm so excited for you guys to check out his book and give it to a friend who needs that. But also the movie is going to be really sharing that story as well.
Yeah,
that struggle.
The Case for Christ film is not a documentary, so it's not just a bunch of evidence, but it is this story. And it's really a lot taken from the Mismatch book about the heart side, the relationship side. And that's what makes it a story I think people can relate to. It's not just a bunch of, here's the facts I discovered, but it's about the struggle and the conflict and the ultimate resolution.
Yeah, and it's so fun to see you guys now and clearly just
44 years now of marriage. Yeah.
And clearly love each other like crazy and love your kids like crazy. And so you guys are a great example to so many in that way. And you're loving life, loving each other.
Yeah.
And so good to see. Excited for you guys to watch the movie coming soon to a theater near you and to see this story played out and how it can encourage you and your own family and the struggles or tensions you might have in your own family or friends that you know of that need to see this. So go ahead and check it out.